on the California Women's Board of Terms and Parole, and we set the sentences in California for women convicted of felonies, and the commission still does, I'm sure. But I just want to say to all of you, it is a real change in how you look at things when you go to a prison and you have people before you and you make a sentence determination. California has a low and a high sentence for crimes, 6 months to 14 years. And so you have to take recidivism into consideration and a number of other things. And I was just thinking back on some of the days in holding the hearings out at the state prison. And it's a tough, tough job. So I just want to wish you well. But part of the mission is really to address the fairness in federal criminal sentencing. And when the commission adjusts the sentencing guidelines range for a criminal offense, the commission has the authority to determine whether the new guideline applies retroactively. And this is an important decision by the commission because the retroactive application of changes to the sentencing guidelines would allow some people who are currently incarcerated to seek reductions to their sentences through a court process. So here's the question to all of you. Beginning with Judge Reeves, if you were confirmed to the commission, what is the analytical process that you would use in determining whether an amendment to the federal sentencing guidelines should be applied retroactively?
Thank you for the question, Senator Feinstein. One of the things that I would do is, again, work along with my colleagues here and with the staff of the Sentencing Commission to get the data, to get the things, to get information from the various stakeholders that are involved in the criminal justice system, including the probation office, including the Bureau of Prisons, including the government, the U.S. attorneys or the Department of Justice and the public defender. The public defenders, have all the stakeholders and again have hearings, have information to determine whether or not each when there is a new law, whether it would apply retroactive in taking the resources and the data that we would be requesting from these stakeholders.
Please, go ahead.
Thank you, Senator. When looking at the retroactivity issue, I think impact matters a lot. And by impact, I mean the data, the numbers, how many people are affected, but also hearing from a wide variety of people about the impact the change would have for them personally, for their families, for communities, as well as the stakeholders in the system and how they would go about doing something like that. I remember with the drugs -2 retroactivity decision, that one of the adjustments was to the timing of it to make sure that probation officers and courts could be adequately prepared to deal with the changes that were coming their way. Thank you.
Thank you. I agree with everything that's been said. I think the first touchstone in retroactivity decisions should, like in everything else, be congressional intent. So I think you would go very case by case and look first at the change in law that potentially prompted the change in guidelines, and then after that, there are a number of competing considerations. There are considerations of justice. There are considerations of not wanting to undo bargains that may have been made during the plea process. And certainly the inputs you would look at are the ones that my fellow nominees have just put forward. Thanks.
Thank you, Senator. I agree with my colleagues. I would also...
Directly into the mic, please.
Yes. Thanks for the question. I would agree with my colleagues. And I would also solicit the input of the judiciary as well, and to get their perspectives on these issues. And I look forward to working collaboratively with in a very nonpartisan way with my colleagues to come to the right conclusion.
Thank you. On any issue of retroactivity, I would want to make sure that the Commission is working within its statutory authority, examining congressional intent as well, and of course studying the data and getting the best input possible from all the relevant stakeholders. So I don't have much to add. to the comments of my fellow nominees, but I think all of those steps are important to study the data, recidivism rates, and then ultimately make a reasoned and informed collective and collaborative decision.
Thank you.
Thank you, Senator.
Raise your mic, please.
Yes, I'm sorry. I agree with my colleagues. In addition, I would add that it's a reconciliation of the fairness of applying a reduction to people who previously were sentenced on the one hand, and then the administrative concerns on the other. This length of the reduction, how many inmates would be eligible for it, the burden that would impose on the process. And I think the commission, those retroactive reductions to the crack sentences in 07 and 10, I think they were handled very prudently by the commission to achieve that reconciliation of the tension between fairness on the one hand, but on the other hand, it needs to be administrable. Thank you, Senator.
Senator, I'd echo many of the insights of my fellow nominees, and I would just note that the Commission's rules and practices specifically also address some of the procedures the Commission should follow. They do note, given the strong interest in finality in the criminal justice system, that the Commission guideline changes should generally apply prospectively, but recognizing that retroactivity is something that would be addressed case by case, call for a Commission retroactivity impact analysis as well.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr.
Thanks, Senator Feinstein. Senator Blackburn.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and congratulations to each of you on your nominations. Judge Wong, I think your children are adorable. And I commend your husband for being